Ryan Fannon, longtime voice of the Villanova Wildcats. He called it the championship game. Villanova beats Michigan and makes me win the bracket pool there. He joins me now on the Sports Bash Boardwalk Honda Hotline. Welcome back, Ryan. How are you?
Oh, doing great. I thought it was going to be hard to top that 2 years ago, and in terms of the buzzer beater, we didn't quite top that, but in terms of an historical run, we sure did.
Yeah, and it spins off a lot of questions now about the future. Number one, 2 championships, 3 years. Everybody talks about the Blue Bloods, the Dukes, the North Carolinas, the Kentuckys. Is Villanova with that group now?
Well, I think when you look at the fact there's only 3 active coaches that have won multiple titles, Jay Wright with 2, Roy Williams with 3, and Coach K with 5. Villanova has a coach that, he's obviously in 17 years not only the winningest coach in Villanova history, but what he's done in this stretch of the 09 Final Four and 16 title. And there was a great stat that came out this week. No program ever has won more games in a 4-year span than Villanova in the last 4 years ever. Duke from the 97-98 season through the 2000-2001 season, they won 133 games. Villanova won 136 in the last 4 years, and only 4 teams have ever gone through an NCAA tournament winning by double digits, and Villanova's one of those now. It's just mind-boggling that the level of success that Villanova's having, and the fact that they're doing it the right way. Everybody's graduating. The unselfishness. This has got to make a lot of people proud out there that love college athletics.
Yeah, no doubt. The one difference that I really saw yesterday, in terms of whether they're on that level, the accomplishments are all there. The one thing those schools all have that Villanova probably won't have ever is where they are situated. They are number one. And Villanova, unfortunately for them, are in a pro city that has a lot of major teams. They will most likely never, regardless of how many championships they win, they will never be the top dog where they are. Where Duke, it's 24/7, 365. Same with Kentucky, same with North Carolina, right?
Yeah, but you hear Jay Wright talk about it. Jay Wright is a Philly guy. He loves it. And look at the way everybody embraces everybody. Jay was thrilled as much as anybody when the Eagles won the Super Bowl this year, and I remember he said in the parade 2 years ago,
yeah,
I can't wait till there's another parade by one of our teams. Like in Villanova, in a pro town, as you said, where everybody loves the Eagles and everybody with the Sixers and the Flyers and the Phillies, but Villanova's created a niche where Villanova, when you mention now sports in Philly, you've got to add Villanova to the other 4, and the only way that was going to happen was probably by multiple national championships, 3 Final Fours since 09, and Villanova's done that to be able to join and be a part of this incredible, what everybody says will always be a pro sports town.
Ryan Fannon, the voice of the Villanova Wildcats. What about Jay? What kind of thoughts does he have? He's accomplished virtually everything. One of the high school basketball coaches down here told me Saturday night, he said, if Jay Wright wins, he's going to the NBA. Is that what he yearns for, or does he want to be, the guy who makes Villanova something that they weren't which they are now, but does he want to be the Coach K of Villanova or the Dean Smith, or does he have bigger aspirations?
Well, I can't speak for Jay, but I can tell you what he says, and I know he means it in his heart. He has the best job in America. He believes that in his heart. This is where he wants to be. He grew up here. He's been able to accomplish incredible things, and he says it's his dream job, and it is. Just you know when you're around people, when they're genuinely happy people, when they're genuinely in love with what they're doing. And I think Jay Wright, as great as he is as a recruiter and a coach, the way he makes everybody feel part of the program, he's just a guy that really gets it at the highest level. And I think his character is his greatest quality.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see. I could see him being that guy who just loves Villanova and makes Villanova, takes him from wherever they were when he got there up to another level, and just keeps building on that. And that brings me to Brunson, because I personally would like to see him come back and become one of these most accomplished players to ever play college basketball. I don't know that he's a first-round pick or draft choice at all, but to win back-to-back national championships, to have that one back in 16, I mean, that would be a pretty cool story for a guy like that, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, think about his NCAA tournament record now. It is 13-1 in 14 NCAA tournament games. His freshman year, 6-0 in the tournament, 1-1 last year, and then 6-0 this year. It's incredible, and he's not, what I'm so happy for Brunson is he's so unselfish. Like, he will always make the best play, the winning play. If he has to score, he will. If he needs to set up his teammates, he's a coach on the floor. He's graduating in 3 years. He was the Scholar Athlete of the Year in the Big East this year, along with being the Big East Player of the Year, and then now he's winning all these the National Player of the Year awards and taking all of that hardware home. And I think that, you know, he obviously has a decision to make. He has a year of eligibility, but he's a guy that's done so much. But if you want to just talk historically, if he did come back, he would have a chance to just do things that have hardly ever been done in the game of college in terms of just winning, points scored, tournament victory, all that stuff. But you know what? He's given us 2 national championships in 3 years. So however this plays out, it plays out. It's just been incredible to be able to broadcast his games for the last 3 years.
Yeah, no doubt. You know, and a lot of people wondering, you know, what his move is going to be. I guess we'll find out soon enough. But, you know, where is the future of this program? How are they left if Brunson ends up leaving and some others? I mean, what do you think next year does look like?
Well, you know, there was speculation. I mean, right after the game, you know, at the press conference in San Antonio, they were asking Jay about those questions. You know, is Bridges going to come back? Is Brunson? And how many of your top 6 will come back? And, you know, Villanova hasn't had this dynamic in a long time. Josh Hart had a chance to make that decision after his junior year when Villanova won the national championship and decided to come back, and ended up being a first-round pick because he came back for his senior year. So there's a lot of decisions to be made. It will be the most interesting, fascinating offseason, I think, in Villanova basketball history because of these decisions to be made. But let's just say if 3 or 4 of the top 6 come back, or 4 of the top 6 come back, Villanova's going to be loaded again because they have a tremendous recruiting class coming in. The player development, everybody always talks about recruiting. What was he ranked coming in? It's the player development within the program at Villanova that I think is understated nationally when people talk about Villanova. The way these guys get so much better during their career with the player development side, that to me might be the greatest thing that Jay and his assistants do with Villanova players, along with making sure they all go to class, they all graduate, and they do this thing the right way.
Well, Ryan, you never hear that in college. It's one and done. That's it. If you're not a one and doneer, you're no good.
Well, I think that because it's talked about so much at Kentucky and Duke, and it's talked about that, but you know, you have over 350 teams in Division I, and you've got great storylines. UMBC beats a 1 seed, first time ever a 16's beaten a 1. Loyola of Chicago goes to the Final Four as an 11 seed. The tournament captivates our country. To me, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that needs to get worked out with the one-and-dones and the NBA and college working together, and a lot of work has to happen on those fronts for sure. But overall, there's so much to love about college basketball.
Ryan Fannon, the voice of the Villanova Wildcats. Tell us a little more about DiVincenzo and that night that he had. I mean, it's kind of apropos that a guy comes off the bench and has that kind of night for this team, it seems like.
He had scored 30 in the Butler game this year on February 10th, which was a career high before Monday night. And in that game, Villanova was without 2 starters in one of our most important wins of the year after losing earlier in this season to Butler at Butler. DiVincenzo, just the level that he shot in terms of that game, 10 of 15 from the floor, 5 of 7 from 3, a perfect 4 of 4 at the line, the most points ever scored off a bench in a championship game, and he played 37 minutes. And Jay made sure he saw the hot hand and he stayed with them and he played them, you know, all but 3 minutes in that game. But that's the confidence. That's the freedom that Jay gives his players on offense. He says, if you buy in and play defense and you rebound and we're going to have our program built on that. I'm going to give you all the confidence in the world to shoot, and I think our guys have so much confidence to shoot the ball because of the way Jay sets up his offense that these guys, if they're feeling it, it doesn't matter if it's from 25 feet. It doesn't have to be a foot behind the three-point line. If you're feeling it, shoot it. And DiVincenzo's performance the other night was just, it will live in the history of Championship Mondays.
Ryan, one of the things I love having you on for is because you're a great storyteller and you recollect things. So in this 3-year run, what are some of your best memories and things that you can recollect that stand out?
I think for this season, when Villanova lost at Creighton on February 24th and gave up 89 points, and Jay's ability to bring the team together and basically tell them that you guys need to become a great defensive team or we'll never reach our potential. And 4 days later, we showed up on Wednesday, February 28th at Seton Hall, and it was tied 52-52 at the end of regulation. And I knew that night that we were on to something because the guys had finally completely bought in defensively, and that started our 11 consecutive wins that would ultimately lead us to a Big East tournament title and an NCAA title. That, to me, was the moment of this year where the guys completely bought in. And by then, we were healthy. We had overcome the injuries. We knew we were an offensive juggernaut all year, but all of that coming together, that loss at Creighton was the difference maker. Last year, the heartbreak of the Wisconsin loss in the second round between these two national championships and just how fine line it is between losing in the second round and winning it all, and that about this team impresses me and the team from 2 years ago because they went through heartache. They know it, and I think it makes them appreciate even more this title, the fact that they had that heartbreak. And remember, the year before that, I'm going back to Villanova 1995 when Villanova lost in a 3-14 game in triple overtime on St. Patrick's Day in Albany, New York. That was the most devastating NCAA tournament loss ever, in my opinion, in the last since 1989, except for the NC State game in 2015. That crushing loss set the tone for the next year. So all these things you learn from the heartache and the great runs, in the end it makes an incredible storyline of Villanova basketball that now has 2 titles in 3 years.
Ryan Fannon, you've seen a lot of great players. How long have you been calling games?
This is my 20th year play-by-play and my 24th year with the network.
Wow. So you've seen a lot of the very good players, great players, guys in the NBA. Where do you put Brunson on that list?
Kyle Lowry's the best pro, the best talent I've ever had a chance to broadcast. But now that Brunson is the guy that, now of course, remember Booth and Bridges and Brunson all are multiple national champion guys now in terms of the fact that they were in the rotation 2 years ago when Villanova won the title. But, you know, some of the guys that stand out for me, I mean, I'm a huge Randy Foye guy. I'm a huge Scotty Reynolds guy. Archie Diacono, maybe the greatest leader in Villanova men's basketball history. But Brunson, now that he's taking all these national accolades and he's so unselfish and he's won 2 national championships, it's hard for me to say there's been a better one than Brunson now.
Ryan Fannon, the voice of the Villanova Wildcats. They are national champions. Second time in 3 years. Tomorrow will be a fun party. Ryan, enjoy it.
Bring on the parade. Great being with you, Mike.